Hello, everyone. I am Sarah Simon. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I'm so excited to be with you tonight. Hello, Mary. Look at this. It's a trio of Marys, Mary Van Domlin, Mary Sebastiano, and Mary Stamp. So welcome, Marys, and anyone else who might be joining us this evening. I'm so excited, like I said, to be with you tonight. I was really struggling. I did not know what it was that I was going to do tonight. And my mom is the one that mentioned to me that last week I had, at the end of my video, I had said that maybe it's time to do a one sheet wonder. And I did say that at the end of the video. And I think the reason that that came to mind is because about maybe 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, hello, Denise. Welcome to the Party of Marys. A couple of weeks ago, Stampin' Up! On our demonstrator Facebook page, one of our, I think she's demonstrator support people. Her name is Shannon West. She had a couple of demonstrators on that were doing a one sheet wonder with a 6x6 sheet of paper. And what they did is they each cut it the exact same way, but they made cards just a little bit differently. So I ended up combining a couple of their things, and I'm going to make 4 cards with you tonight using one sheet of 6x6. But then I'm going to show you a couple of other ways that you could have used that as well. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. So before we get started, I have some Happy Meal to share with you. And then Lila's right here, so I'm petting her so she doesn't go nuts. Then I will get to some prizes, and then we will get to our stamping. So in the mail, I received this beautiful card. This is Misty Moonlight, which is really becoming one of my favorites. And I love this huge greeting of thanks so much. This is coming to me, whoops, from Linda Kester. She has a little sheet in there that says that she didn't sign it so that I could regift it again. And she was thanking me for the pastel sequins that she won a couple weeks ago. And then look at this one. So I made this fold not last week, but the week before, I think it was when I made it. And this is coming from Tammy Litsky, and it was a comfort and strength. She was saying she was sorry to hear about the loss of my uncle. And she says in here, the fun fold is inspired by me. So I'm glad that I inspired you, Tammy. And your card is absolutely beautiful with that daisy. And this is some of the black and white paper that's in the Zany Zoo, and she colored it so you wouldn't know that it was black and white, and then it matches with the colors that she had in the striped paper up here. Beautiful card. And then there was this one from, I think this was from Karen Wetstein. Look at how beautiful that is. I loved that Gingo Branch die and set. And this is, I don't know if you can see it on there, but it's on pearlized paper, which is just absolutely beautiful. And it just says, so sorry for the passing of your uncle, Father Paul. So thank you. We had a beautiful celebration of his life. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you got a chance to see that already. There were so many priests there, and I have 2 aunts that are also, well, I have 3 aunts that are nuns, 2 of them from that side of the family and one from the other side of the family. And so there were a lot of sisters there, and they provided the music, and it was just gorgeous. So it was a beautiful celebration of his life last week, Thursday night, and then Friday was the funeral. So, and then I also have some prizes to give away. So last week we had this little cute fun fold that has the flip, and then it flips down to create a fun little fold. We also cased the catalog with this little baby card with the cute envelope, or the cute circles that were in there, and that elephant. And then we also had our little Hey Chuck, and it opens this way. And then we kind of decided that we liked it opening the opposite way so that it pulls completely out. rather than opening the opposite, like the way that a card normally does. And this was a little birthday card. So receiving these for, oh my gosh, I have my list of people here and I have it circled. Oh, Kelly W. So Kelly Wildenberg, you will be receiving these cards in the mail for making a comment. So I do check your comments. Hello, Betty, on the live chat. I also look at those who place comments after, and I know that some of you haven't been able to figure out how to comment in YouTube. You're getting things. So I also go to Facebook and I write all of those comments down as well. And I've also been looking at my blog. So if you would prefer to just post in my blog, you could post a comment there too. And I put all of those into the drawing. And then the same thing with sharing. You can either share here, there's a button somewhere where you can share. I don't know exactly where it is. I've got two devices going on. But you can hit share. Hello, Sarah. You can share it to Facebook. You can email it, whatever you do. Please indicate that you shared it in a comment because sometimes I don't see everyone, the names of everyone that shared. I can see it was shared 15 times. It was shared 10 times here, but I can't see all the names. So make sure you type in there that you shared so you get credit. So I put all those names into a drawing and receiving a pack of these. These are the Tinsel Gems 3-pack. So it's, I think that's Misty Moonlight and Fresh Freesia and Lost Lagoon are the colors that are in there. And receiving these is Melanie Foy. So Melanie, I will be getting these off in the mail to you. I'm not sure if you're heading to Wisconsin soon or not. I know think I have your address in Arizona, but I also know that I think you come up to either Minocqua or Rhinelander or somewhere to vacation in the summer. But I will get these to the address that I have. And if you're vacationing, you can just get them when you get home. And then for placing an order, I have this bird's eye view that we used last week with the fun little birds and the glasses and the books and balloon and all that fun stuff. Several of you took advantage of the free shipping day, as did I. And receiving this is Patty Hansen. So Patty, I will get this off in the mail. Whoops. In the mail to you. Thank you to all of you for supporting my business. I really, really appreciate it. A couple of comments. Just a reminder, I will not be live next week. So until this Friday is the Designer Series paper special that's going on for 15% off most of the designer paper that's in our catalog. And also included in that is the online exclusive of the Irresistible Bloom. So any of that. And also up until Friday, you could join Stampin' Up! For $99, you would get $155 worth of free stuff. You get $155 worth of stuff for $99, not free. You do get free shipping on that. And you can include in that the paper that's already at 15% off. So hello, Sandy. So that's kind of a great deal too, but that's only until this week, Friday. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get to stamping. Before I do, I'm just going to share a graphic that will show you how to cut the designer paper. We're going to cut it together, but if you want to take a screenshot while you're watching this so that you have it, I will also put it in my blog and in the link with all the other dimensions. But I thought since I have the graphic, I would put that up there while I'm turning off my lights so that I don't have as many shadows and getting some of my stamping supplies up onto my surface here. So this is going to be how we are going to be cutting the designer paper for all of, we're going to be making 4 cards out of this. So each of the little colors, so the yellow is 1 card, the blue is 1 card, the green is 1 card, and then that it's supposed to be an orangish color on the right. That's going to be 1 card. And then that little strip of white along the bottom, that's all that you have left of scrap of that 6x6. Okay, so looks like my camera has disconnected. Let me see if I can get it connected again. There we go. Hopefully that's the only time it's going to do it tonight. We can pray. All right. We are going to be using, since we have our designer series paper still on sale. Nice to have you under. Oh yeah. Thank you, Sandy. I'm going to be using one of the papers that is in that sale, which is the Countryside Inn. And I'm just going to be cutting a 6x6 of the piece that has these two designs in it. We're only really going to be using this design, but you could mix and match it with any paper. The paper that they used in the sample that I saw was the Gorgeously Made or Masterfully Made, whatever the paper is called. And then the other one used the Delightfully Eclectic, a couple of papers from that. And so like I said, I got this from, it was a demonstrator Facebook group that I was in. This is the stamp set that we're going to be using, the Layering Leaves. I loved these fonts in the greetings as well as the greetings. There's a nice variety, sending hugs, thinking of you, so happy to celebrate you instead of just happy birthday. Excuse me. Best wishes for you. Thank you so much. Hello. And then it's got these different leaves and these little like buds almost. Now, this is a $1 million set for Rachel Tessman, I think, did this one. Yes. But it goes with a punch that we already had. We had this bow punch and it will punch out. This matches with that and that matches with that. So we're going to be using this punch that I already had from a previous catalog, but now it goes with the stamp set that's new in the catalog. All right. When I was looking through the catalog, of course, I don't have a bottle of water sitting with me today. And all of a sudden, I think because I was teaching today, so I have to tell you this story. Today, I went into the Aftercares program. They asked us to come in 4 times during the summer to do some STEM activities with the kids. So today we read the story of Mr. Ferris and his wheel, and the kids made Ferris wheels. And there were 25 kids in the morning in the 4 and 5-year-olds. And then in the afternoon, I had 50 kids. Yeah. I said to my mom, someone would be like, Miss Simon, can you help me next? And I'm like, sure. And then someone would say, you said you would help me next. Well, I'll help you after that. I was like, my name must have been said 1,000 times. So Denise, I don't know how you do it with second graders. I had 50 kids today and I just about went nuts. And it was only an hour and a half in the afternoon. But with reading the story, talking to them, I feel like I have like a little tickle in my throat. Anywho, I was looking at where this paper was featured with the Countryside Corners, and we're not even going to be using this today, the stamp set and the dies for this. But I loved how this navy and the boho blue went with this crumb cake. And so all of my cards are going to have crumb cake bases, and they're going to have some navy and some boho blue in them. I just thought that looked really kind of country-ish, but very sharp looking. I'm going to put that away. I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in, and we are going to take our piece of that 6x6 designer paper, and I did write out each of the steps. Yeah, Sarah, it was it was a lot. I mean, the high school girls that it's their job for the summer, they want a little bit of a break in the afternoon, so they weren't helping as much, but they helped a little bit, but I was going a little bit crazy. Oh my gosh, Denise, you have 25 next year. Yeah, our classes are a little bit bigger too. I always feel so bad for the teachers. Okay, so 6x6, we're going to cut it at the 3-inch mark. And this one has a pattern where, I don't know if you can see that, but there are some flowers. So I want my flowers to be standing upright when I'm cutting it. Now, one of the designs that I'm going to share with you would be if you cut it with the design being on the side. Okay, so I'm going to show you that too. So if you does not like it either way, you could do it either way. All right, so my first cut is at 3 inches. So I'm going to put this in here and line it up at 3 inches and get my scoring tool out of the way and cut there at 3. Okay, step 2 it says to cut this 3-inch piece at 3 inches the other way. So I'm going to put it in the opposite way, and I'm going to cut it at 3 inches. So I've got 2 squares that are 3 inches by 3 inches. Okay, it says cut one of the 3-inch by 3-inch into 4 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. That's going to be my card number 1. So I'm going to cut this at 1.5. So cut it in half. And then I can line these up on top of each other and cut that at 1.5. Now, I just want to point out that this paper wasn't 6 by 6 to start out with. It's a 12 by 12 sheet that I cut down to 6 by 6. So I could really get 4 of these out of one sheet. Okay, so here are the squares that I need for card number 1. I'm going to set those aside. Then it says to cut the other 3 by 3 squares at the diagonal. And you really can cut at either diagonal. I'm going to go opposite of what I did last night, just so you can see it both ways, and you can decide which way you like better. So I'm going from the bottom left to the upper right. The card that I'll show you that I made last night cuts it just the opposite way. So this is going to be my card number 2. All right, then I'm going to go back to my paper that I have left, and it says cut 1 inch off the other 3-inch strip. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to cut. I like to cut, if it's 1 or under, I like to cut with lining it up on the right-hand side. So I'm cutting that 1 inch off. Now you could cut this at any length. You could cut it at 5.5. You could cut it at 5.25. For the card that we're going to use today, we're going to cut it at 5.25. Okay, if you wanted to do 5.5 and go all the way around the card, you could as well. This is actually going to be our card number 4. Let's set that aside over there. Then with this 2-inch strip that we have left, okay, that's that. Number 7, sorry. I had to get my steps here. Cut the last 2-inch strip at 1 3/4 inches 3 times. So this is going to be 1 3/4. So it's going to be 2 by 1 3/4. And I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 of them. So let me get it in there straight. And this little piece that's left over, along with this little piece that I had cut off, that's all that I have left of that 6 by 6. If you think you can use that for something, you could save that. I'm just going to set it aside because I don't see a need for it right now. All right, card number 1 is going to use these 4 squares. And I decided for this one I wanted to do a little bit of a fun fold, because normally when I do my One Sheet Wonders, they're just regular folding cards. This is going to be a little bit of a fun fold. So I started with that one. So this is all of my crumb cake are at 5.5 by 8.5. So you could just cut 2 sheets in half, and then I'm going to score at 2 1/8 inch from either end. So here's 2 1/8 from this end. Whoa, I almost cut instead of scored. Did you see that? That would have been disastrous. All right, and then 2 1/8. All right, so we're going to be making just your standard gatefold card. All right, I'm going to get my trimmer out of here. I started with this card because I needed that to do that little cutting. And here are the rest of our pieces. So we started with 5.5 by 8.5. Hi, Julie. And I scored it at 2 1/8 from each end. I have a 4 by 5.25. That's actually going to be the inside of my card instead of white. I didn't use any white on this. I used crumb cake, boho blue, and navy on everything. All right, I have 2 pieces of boho blue that measure 1 7/8 by 5.25. They're going to go on there. I have 2 Night of Navy that are 1 3/4 by 5 1/8. We are going to use our 4 squares, we said. I have a piece of crumb cake that's 1 5/8 by 3 5/8, and a piece of boho blue that is 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. Whoops, I should write that, put that so you can see it. Okay, so those are going to be there. I am going to take this small boho blue, this bigger boho blue, and we're going to do some stamping on here. I also am going to grab, I have a whole bunch of scraps that I have here, and we're going to grab a scrap of this crumb cake, and yeah, this should be enough of a scrap. And I'm also going to grab a scrap of Night of Navy. Okay, so on here, I'm going to start. I really loved this greeting that said, sending hugs. Let me get some of these Post-it notes out of here. They're starting to become a little bit of a distraction. I have a lot of stuff on my desk right now. All right, so I'm going to take the sending hugs, and using Night of Navy ink, I'm just going to ink that up really good. And I'm going to stamp it a little bit to the right of this boho blue. Isn't that a nice, look at how pretty that greeting is. I just love that. Thanks for sharing, Julie and Sarah. Then I'm going to take one of my leaf images, and this one has kind of like a veiny looking leaf to it. And I'm going to look at my punch, and I'm going to want it to go in this way. So I'm going to want to stamp it this way. And I'm going to do that crumb cake on crumb cake. Actually, let's leave our blue out. Let me find one of the floral images. Oh, here we go. It's underneath. Let's take this one that's filled in, and let's just stamp that floral image along the bottom of our inside, just to give that a little bit of something on the inside. With sending hugs, I feel like you could put anything. You could put a thinking of you if you wanted to. You could really put just about anything. All right, I'm going to use the crumb cake ink. And I think I said it had to go, yeah, this way. Second guessing myself. All right, and close that up. I know I'm going to have to open it again, but I'm going to close it up for now. And we're going to punch this out to get over the top of it a little bit. There we go. So I'm basically just lining it up, and when I feel like I've got it lined up really well inside the lines, I just kind of press it down, and then if I look to see it's in the right spot, I just press real hard to get that punched out. All right, I'm going to bring this little piece in, and we're going to cut that other image with the Night of Navy, just to go with that. Right. Now we are ready, I think, to put this together. I'm going to keep my ink pads here. All right, how this works is we are going to layer, I mentioned this already, this Night of Navy onto the boho blue. And there's just like 1/16 of an inch around there because it's only a 1/8 of an inch difference. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so this is 1 3/4 inches wide. These were 1 1/2 inches. So what I want to do is I want to put this down in the bottom, so that I try to have an even border around those three sides. Okay, so I'm going to put this down. I want to try to get as even as a border as I can along those three sides. And I'm going to put another one of these on the top, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want an even border, as even as I can get, on those three sides that I can see. Okay, this is going to be a much bigger, this is where our greeting is going to go. All right, I'm going to do the same thing here. These were each 1.5 by 1.5 because we took that 3" by 3" square and cut it into 4 equal squares. And then we've got one more on the top. Now, for this one, it doesn't matter which direction you would cut it because these are squares. So you could put if you wanted to put this sideways, you could put it sideways. I wanted the flowers to go up, so it worked perfect the way I had it. All right, I'm going to attach this on the inside of our card. All right, I'm going to bring my bone folder in here just to give this a little bit of a burnish. There we go. It lays just a little bit flatter then. Okay, and then I'm going to attach these to either side. Again, I want to make sure that my floral image is facing up. Looks like I didn't go right at 2 1/8 inch. It looks like I've got a little bit. So if you wanted to put one side in and then the other side in and kind of force it so that they line up, you could do that. I'm not going to worry too much about it because we're going to cover some of that up with our greeting. Okay, so there is the front so far. Now what we're going to do is we're going to layer this with that greeting that we had of sending hugs. And now this piece that we have layered, we only want one side to be attached so we can still open our gatefold. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add adhesive just on the left-hand side, and I'm doing it here so that I don't go over too far on my little slip. I want this edge to line up where that edge is, and it should, and center it, it should line up where my other edge is as well. Okay, so that's how that one opens. Okay, so I put the 4 squares. I put this one upside down. My whole flower is upside down. Let me see if I can. Oh no, that's not going to work. This one's going to be upside down. I'll give the person, as I was saying, make sure you have your designs the right way. These flowers are upside down now. These are the right way. I put this strip on upside down. So it's a good lesson to you. I will give the person who wins these next week, I will give you my good copy or my good one that has the flowers all going in the correct direction. All right, I'm going to take this leaf and we're just going to be putting it on here. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of glue and I kind of get my glue going and I just don't even squeeze, but just take whatever's at the tip and put a little dot there. The average person probably wouldn't see that my flowers are upside down, but I noticed that they were flowers, and so I could definitely see that they were upside down. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing with this blue. Just get my glue going and then lightly dab a little bit on there and just kind of set that over the top. And then to hide these little overlap of the leaves, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I have my bow maker here, my 10-second bow maker that I found online. And I'm just going to wrap this around here like 3 times to give it a nice little bow. Wrap this around and tie it. Whoops. Tie it. And then I'm going to take my bone folder, or you could really just use your fingers and just kind of curl the edges a little bit. And I do think I need to trim this just a tad. Okay, I'm going to throw that back on there. We're going to use that for every card because we want all of our cards to kind of look the same. And I'm going to add a glue dot where the knot is and just set that right in there. Okay, so there is our first card, Sending Hugs. And then you open it up, whoops, and you have a place to write on the inside. So that is card number 1. Now, this is the one that I made where the flowers all go the correct direction. All right. This is another option for you. If you don't want to do the gatefold, I didn't put an inside on this one yet. But what I did was I did a layer of Night of Navy and I put my 4 squares on the top and the bottom. And this time I just ended up putting some crumb cake. You could also put boho blue there if you wanted to stick with the boho blue. And then I did a boho blue border as well. So this one doesn't have the gatefold, but it still uses those 4 squares in a unique way to come up with a different type of card. So you've got 2 different options for your card 1. You also could have your card go this way and have turn those things around, so that your flowers were going the right direction. If you had a greeting that went up and down, kind of like those scripture passage ones that we had, you could put one of those in there and have your greeting go up and down and have your card open this way rather than opening up the vertical way. All right, so that is our card number 1 with our 4 squares. Next, we're going to use this square that we cut diagonally. So let me go ahead. Whoops, here's our envelope for that one. Let me keep that together. All right, so our dimensions for the card that we're going to be doing for this one, again, we have 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So all of my card bases, like I mentioned, are going to be crumb cake today. I have a 4 by 5 1/4. All of my insides of my cards are 4 by 5 1/4, and they're all going to be boho blue, so they're going to match that way. I have a 3 5/8 by 4 7/8 piece of Night of Navy, and then a boho blue that is 3.5 by 4 3/4. I set my envelope over here. And again, card number 2 is going to be using those diagonal pieces. So where I'm going to be putting those diagonal pieces are on this boho blue layer. So I'm just going to layer them. I'm going to try to, just like we did in that last one, where I said you want to try to keep an even layer on the 3 sides. Here it's going to be just on the 2 sides, okay, the top and the bottom. I want to have about the same amount of space. Oh, thank you, Julie. Yeah, I can't take credit for these designs. Like I said, I found this on a demonstrator website, Facebook page. They had it for all demonstrators to be able to see, and I just used different paper and a different stamp set to create my cards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that one there, and I'm going to look at about how much space I left at the top and on the side, and I'm going to do the same thing with this piece over here. And again, I have my flowers going in the correct direction. You bet I'm going to watch that from now on. Make sure I don't make a mistake. All right. And then here's where I have to be a little bit careful. I'm going to stamp my greeting up here. So I want to make sure that I don't like rock my stamp or do anything like that because now I've added my paper. I always figure I could add like a butterfly or a gem or something like that if I do end up making a mistake. But I really wanted to be able to see where that was so that I could make sure that I can stamp in the center of it. So I'm actually going to move it so that it's straight, that I can see it straight. And it just says, thank you so much. All right. While it's here, I am going to stamp in blue. I'm just going to stamp this image right inside of that little area there. And now I'm going to take my punch and I'm going to take a scrap of, here it is, my crumb cake. And I'm just going to punch that to go along. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do a navy one. Which do you like, the navy or the crumb cake? Should I bring the crumb cake in? This is going to go on navy. This is going to get layered on navy. We'll let you vote. It's then going to go on crumb cake. So do you like the navy or do you like the crumb cake? Which one do you like on there? Give a vote. Which one you like? I'm going to just do the same stamped image we're going to put on the inside here. All right. Don't have any votes yet, but I know there's a little bit of a delay. Let's go ahead and start putting the rest of this together. We'll go ahead and add this. Whoops. Oh, I just put that glue down on my mat. That wasn't so smart, Sarah. So we've got our navy mat. You know what? I didn't even score these. It says to score them, but I didn't score them. Take my bone folder. When they're folded the normal way instead of folded the opposite way, they tend to score pretty easily. So I wasn't too worried about scoring them. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down. Let's see. Navy, 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 crumb cake, navy. I think navy's winning. Oh, I forgot to throw a few gems on the last one. We'll have to bring our card back here. I have some gems as well. So let's go ahead and put the navy down. And you could cut, if you want to use dimensionals on these, I'm going to use it on, I think I use it on one later. No, I don't. I decided against that. If you do use dimensionals, you just have to cut the littlest ones even in half. They're a little bit, you know what, I'm going to make this go up more. I cut this one the opposite way and I wanted to do something just a tad bit different than what I did on the one so I could show you a couple of different patterns. Let me use my adhesive remover here. Making a mess of this. There we go. We'll cut one more of these. I think I'm going to have it go more that way. And then we're going to use the linen thread again. So that'll be our crumb cake that we can bring into it. Okay, I'm just going to have that go straight a little bit more. And again, get our linen thread here. Wrap this around here a couple of times. and cut it, tie a knot. And my bone folder will curl it. And we'll trim this one side. And a glue dot will hide kind of some of this Okay, so thank you so much. And we have to put our little panel on the inside for writing. You could leave that just plain crumb cake. I wanted to add just a little bit of something. Note this, not really crazy about how I did this one compared to how I did it in my sample. My sample went the opposite way. I feel like this has to go up more. I feel like this is looking sideways. I'll have to fix that one. Because it looks like it's sideways now. It has to go up more. And I think it's because I put this big leaf in. When I did the one for today, it went the opposite way. And I used a different leaf and then put that up in the center of it. Let's go ahead and put our gems on here. We're using those tinsel gems that Melanie won. I'll do a little doctoring up of that before I give it away next week. It needs to be fixed a little bit, but right now I would have to scrape some glue off of there. Let's see here. Let's see if we move this, if that helps. Okay, even just moving that ribbon helped a little bit. I'll mess with it a little bit more. Let's bring our last one back here. Let's see, here's the one that was upside down. Is that the one that was upside down? Yep, this is the one that's upside down. We'll go ahead and just add a gem there. We can just add a couple of these around that just to give it a little bit of bling. Okay, now my other option for that circle or for that cut is to still keep it as a square and to just add it just a little bit bigger and cut down the center of it or leave a little bit of space in the center and then just add a little leaf up on the top. And I used one of the stylish shapes for the thank you so much. So another option, so we've got card. You can have it go this way if you cut it apart that way. Okay, you can have it go the way I did it and have the thank you go the opposite way. Or you can put it together like this. Those are all using the same DSP sizes, just making the card look a little bit different each time. All right, so maybe you want to do 2 6x6s and make a total of 8 cards and be able to give some different types of cards for each one. That would be kind of cool too. All right, our next card, it's a scrap, has an 8.5 by or 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and a 5 1/4 by 4 again. This time we have a Night of Navy strip that's 2 1/4 by 5.5. And I don't know why I have this for this one. I don't need this for this one. I need that one for a different one. I put it in the wrong envelope, I think. All right, this is all I need. I just want to make sure I have the right one here. Yes. For this one, we're actually going to use some circle punches, so we don't need to have that banner. Okay, so for this one, what we're going to do, take these off, is I'm going to fold this in half again. And the easiest way, if you don't have it scored, is to line up the corners and line up the edge, and then just kind of take your bone folder and slide it back so that it folds it in the correct place if you don't have it scored. All right, so with this strip, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure flowers are going in the right direction. I'm going to line this one up so that there's not a space at all. It goes all the way up to the top. The bottom one, I'm going to line all the way up to the bottom. And then this middle one should leave a little bit of space that's about as equal as the space that I have on either side. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way up to the top. I'm not going to leave any sort of a border along the top, but I'm going to try to make sure that I center it so that I have an equal border on either side. Okay, so this is all the way up to the top. I didn't leave any border up there at all. Okay, the bottom one is going to go all the way flush with the bottom and not leave any border on the bottom. Make sure my head's not in there. And then this one is going to get centered between those two. I'm going to actually stand up so I can try to make sure I get it centered. Okay, so this edge and each of those is about the same amount. All right, this right here is going to get glued to the side of this, but before we do that, I'm going to bring my mat back in here so I can do some stamping. I wanted to add just a little bit of, I don't know, character, dimension, I don't know what it would be, to this card base. So I'm going to take my Crumb Cake ink, and one of the stamps is kind of like a little paint splatter, and I'm just randomly going to stamp this around the outside. Actually, I did it kind of for the whole card because that layer, and I'm just kind of moving my stamp in different directions just to give it some little paint splatters here. All right, so that just adds a little bit of character, I guess, and a little bit of something to the card rather than just having it be plain crumb cake card base. And then we're going to attach this. And this is actually 5.5 inches long. So it's going to go all the way to the top and it's going to go all the way to the bottom. And I'm leaving just a little bit. I would say that's maybe 1/2 inch on the side. Okay, then I have my 2 punches here. I'm going to punch out a, see if this is big enough. I think it is. I'm going to have to get a different scrap here that's bigger. This is my 2 3/8 inch. That's going to be in Night of Navy. And I'm going to take a scrap of the boho blue. And I just want to make sure, yep, that's big enough. I'm going to stamp my greeting in Night of Navy on here. And I'm going to do that greeting that says, "So happy to celebrate you," because that way you could put a happy birthday on the inside if you wanted to, or whatever you might be celebrating. Maybe it's somebody's retirement, or maybe it's somebody, you know, something else that you're celebrating for a person. By leaving the inside blank, you will be able to add whatever it is that you're celebrating at a later time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and layer these on top of each other. Don't you just love this? The greetings in this stamp set I just absolutely love. Thanks, Kelly. All right, and now we just need to have something to kind of put behind this a little bit. So I'm going to take that a little bit of crumb cake. I'm going to take that kind of the greenery or whatever. It's not greenery, it's going to be crumb cake. I'm going to stamp that and punch it again. Whoops, I'm not straight. Let me, there we go. Okay, so there's one. And then I'm actually going to cut this. We're going to do one more. I have a whole bunch of stamps here. Okay, now I'm glad this happened so I can show you what I do. So I don't have enough to really hold on to this when I slide this in there because I cut it a little bit short. Take a Post-it note and attach it to the end to give yourself something to hold on to. So now I can stick this in here and I can hold on with my Post-it note and I don't have to re-stamp it or try to struggle to figure out how in the world I'm going to be able to line it up and punch it. Okay, so I have two of those. And then I'm going to, let's close this up before I put something in here. I'm going to punch a couple of these. Now you could stamp those in navy if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave them boho blue. And I'm going to do one navy one. Right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a little bit of a design that can kind of be sneaking out from underneath my circle. So what I did when I made mine is I put my leaves down first, then I did the circle, and then I tucked these little floral images in where I wanted them. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. And I'm going to kind of stick one going up in that direction because my circle is going to go about right there. And I'm going to have one that's going to be going in that direction. So they're going in opposite directions. I might bring this one in a little bit so that they're a little bit closer to overlapping. But the ends of them are going to be covered by that circle. And you could, if you wanted to, use a little bit of Scotch tape to kind of secure them a little bit, but I decided I just wanted glue and I wanted them to glue down instead of have them kind of floating up. This is going to go about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dimensionals on that, and I'm going to keep my dimensionals kind of in towards the center a little bit so that as I'm tucking those other floral images or these little buds, I guess they are, I don't run into my dimensionals. Okay, so happy to celebrate you. And I'm just going to use a glue dot to kind of help me put them in place. That's what I did when I did it, when I made my one sample last night. Yep, I was doing this yet last night. Okay, and then I'm going to do another blue, boho blue. And if I feel like you need to put any of them down, you could always add a little bit of glue afterwards. And then this one I'm going to put in the middle. Okay, so I've got some floral images going on there. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of my linen thread. This stuff is so cheap compared to other ribbons and stuff. And it adds just a little bit of ribbon. And I love how you can curl it. Linen thread is probably one of my favorite things to add to a card. Um, I love baker's twine, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like the daintiness of the linen thread and how easy it is to curl the edges and make it look so cute is what I love about it. And I'm just going to kind of set that up there. So it's just kind of a bow that's off to the side of the circle. And then I am going to use some of my gems again. And we'll kind of border our circle a little bit. Whoops. A couple of different sizes. Otherwise, I always have my big ones left. So I like to... So happy to celebrate you. And I forgot to do the inside of my card. All right, so what I'm going to do with the inside is I think we're just going to do, goodness, I've got a lot of, every stamp I have almost on here. So let's see, let's grab this again. Let's do the opposite one. So we did the one that was filled in. Let's do the one that's a little bit daintier. And we'll maybe do a couple of them here. Whoops. That's what happens when you put two stamps on. Now I got to try to line this up. You know, if there's two sides of every paper, let's flip it over. That'll be easier. All right, I'm going to set that there. And we'll add that to the inside, and we have card number 3 done. Now, I didn't do an alternative to this one. Hi, Carol. You can always go back and watch the other ones. We're doing a one-sheet wonder today, Carol. So I took one 6x6 sheet of paper and I cut it different ways, and we're making 4 cards with it. Okay, so remember how I said I started with my paper with the flowers up? If you started them with the flowers to the side, then you could do your paper this way and your flowers would be facing the correct way. And you could make a card that was horizontal and you could just stamp down here or do whatever you wanted to do. You wouldn't have to do the circle, but you could make it so that if your paper is directional and it was facing the opposite way, that your card could go this way. And I didn't get a chance to make one like that. It was getting to be late last night, so I only have these 2 samples that I have for that one. All right, I'm going to put these punches away because I don't need them again. Our last card is with this strip. And so for this one, again, like in all of these, I started with an 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, or just folded at 4 1/4. This time I have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. One of them is plain for the inside. The other one I ran through our distressed, is it called distressed brick? Exposed brick? I can't remember what it's called. It's the new brick one that has different parts of the brick is there and other parts of it are not there. Okay, so this is going to be on the outside. And then I have a layer of Night of Navy that's 1 1/8 by 5 1/4. And I have some crumb cake that's 1 3/8 by 5 1/4. And that label that I had in my last one that I said that doesn't go in here, this label is going to go in there. So where did I get my bow maker? Sandy, if you Google 10-second bow maker, you should have it come up. It is a demonstrator, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator who sells them. I don't remember what they are. When I get done here, I'll try to find it and I'll try to put a link on my Facebook page so that you can get to it. I love it. It has the little holes on the side here. Now, I've seen people that have made them with nails and such like that and just drilled the holes. What I like about this is that I don't have to worry about any nails like getting stuck on my ribbon ever. It makes really nice bows. So I paid a little bit for mine, but I really love it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let's start with stamping and stamping. And we'll set this aside right now while we do take care of that. So on this label, we're going to be using our Night of Navy ink again. And this time we're going to be using the Thinking of You. I love Thinking of You because you can use them for so many things. And we're going to stamp a little bit to the right. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to take my leaf, the one that we haven't used yet. Just threw the stamp on there. And this has a more filled in leaf look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, using some crumb cake, I'm just going to stamp some of those leaves on here. Don't want to go too overboard, but you want to kind of fill in. Okay, so Thinking of You with some of the leaves going around it. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring my trimmer in here because I feel safer with it. I'm just going to trim off the very edge of this. I want that to be straight flush against the side of the card. All right, and on the inside, I'm going to clean this stamp. I did have a cleaner out here, I thought. Here it is. It got buried. Go figure, there's a lot of stuff on my desk right now. I'm going to clean that off. And we're going to come in with a little bit of the Night of Navy. Now, if you wanted to put the Sending Hugs on the inside of this, that kind of goes along with Thinking of You. Or if you just want to wait and see if you need a sympathy card or whatever you need, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, all right, I just stamped once and then I just moved it a little bit. All right. Okay, Melanie, good. Yeah, 10-second bow maker can be looked up online. I thought so. I had seen it on somebody else's page, and that's where I got the idea to look. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and just punch out just one of these leaves to kind of go along with that look. All right, we are ready to put our card together. Again, I didn't score it. I must have forgot to do that last night. I don't know why. Usually I score them right away. All right. Then what we're going to do is that strip that we had is going to go on the Night of Navy first. And like I said, I used all of one side. You could mix and match this with some of the cards being one side, some of the cards being the other side. This pattern, you just had to be really careful because all I see are half trees. If I saw a full tree, it might look better, but with all these half trees, it kind of looks a little silly. So this smaller pattern like this for this layout works really well. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of navy to either side. The top and the bottom is flush. And then I'm going to add that to a piece of crumb cake that's a little bit thicker. And again, I'm going to go all the way up to the top. And there's not going to be a border on the top or the bottom. My border is just going to be on either side. Okay, this is going to get put on here, kind of again off to the right a little bit. And it looks like my piece is just a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up on one end. So I'll line it up on this end so that it's up at the top. And when it gets down to the bottom, what I'll do is I'll flip it over, and anything that might be hanging over the other side, I will just trim with my paper snips. Okay, and then this is going to go on this card base. I think that's called exposed brick is what the name of the embossing folder is now that I'm thinking of it. And maybe somebody else put that on here, but that's I think what it's called. It's new in this catalog. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put dimensionals just on this right-hand side of my thinking of you. And my dimensionals are here. I'm not going to put anything here because that's a different level because of that paper that's on there. I might take a dimensional and put it like right up to this so that I have it. But before I put that down, I'm actually going to kind of see where I want this. Whoops, that's putting it down. And I'm going to glue that about right there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little piece of Scotch tape where it's going to be hid, and then I'll come. I do this sometimes so that I have the right placement. And I'll put my glue behind it. Or you can leave it so that they're kind of not completely glued down. Either way works. And now if I take these off, line that up. And I'm again going to bring just a little linen thread in because I wanted to keep that same look on all of my cards. I'm wrapping it around 3 times. You don't have to. You could wrap it around once, you could wrap it around twice. Just gives it a little bit fuller bow look when I wrap it around multiple times. And if you don't have a bone folder, you can just kind of take your fingers and kind of curl it as well. The bone folder does make it pretty easy, just like you do curling ribbon. Just kind of pull on it like that. And we'll trim a little bit off. Whoops, I don't think I have that tied real tight this time. Let me see if I can tie it a little tighter. When I pulled it off, there we go. Now it's a little tighter. My glue dot moved. Put my glue dot back on the knot. Okay, let me get a new glue dot on here. My glue dot, I don't know where it went, but I'm gonna pull this tight. Glue dot. There we go. All right, and then we'll just take one of our gems and just kind of add something there for that, and we'll add this to the inside. Now, if you decided to cut your paper the opposite way, remember I said when I first started out, if you were here right at the beginning, I had my paper so that the pattern was the upright position when I started making all of my cuts. If you moved it so that your paper was sideways, you would get this strip so that you would go this way, and the card that I made with that one looks like this. So the strip goes the long way. I put a couple of things in here like we did with one of the other ones with some of those little blooms or little buds, and did the thinking of you that way instead. So vertical or horizontal, depending on which direction you had your paper. Now, if you have a paper that doesn't have any direction at all, and it doesn't matter if it's not going to be upside down or right side up or whatever the case might be, you could make some of your cards going in one direction and some of your cards going in a different direction. And like I said, this wasn't really 6x6 paper. It was a 12x12 piece of paper that I cut down to 6x6. Get some of this out of here so I can show you all the cards. So you really could, if you wanted to, take two 6x6 pieces of paper and make a total of 8 cards that you might want to give away as a gift set. So we've got Thinking of You. That was our card 4. We had the So Happy to Celebrate You. And I didn't do this one in the opposite direction at all. So I apologize for that. I should have done one in each direction. I just ran out of time. We have the Thank You So Much, or in the opposite direction, doing it a little bit different with your square or your diagonals pushed more together as a square, or going in the opposite direction, depending on which way you cut your 3x3 square. All right, and then our first card, again, we did it as a gatefold tonight. I'm going to keep these envelopes with it. Okay, we did it as a gatefold, but you could also do it differently and not do it as a gatefold and just put your squares there and your greeting in the center. So a lot of different ways to use, and let me show you again. Let me just go ahead and flip to, this is your sheet again. So we started by cutting at 3 inches. Then we cut one of those 3-inch by 3-inch squares into 1.5 by 1.5, and we had 4 of them. And we cut the 3x3 diagonally. And then we cut 2 inches off and cut that into 1 3/4 inch pieces, and we had 3 of them. And then we had that 1 inch left, and we cut that at 5 1/4. But if you wanted to do 5 1/2, you could also do 5 1/2. And I think, nope, I did 5 1/4 on this one too. I was thinking I did 5 1/2. If I went all the way like we did here from top to bottom, that would be 5 1/2. Okay, I don't have any lights on. I have all these spotlights on so that I can have it on my workspace, but I turned my overhead light off, so I don't have as many shadows. So hello, Pat Williams from Alabama. Thank you for joining me. Thank you all for joining me. Just a reminder that I will not be, I'm going to see if I open up my blinds, if that helps a little bit with getting some different light in and turning some of these off. Whew. I will not be here next Tuesday because it's the 4th of July. I'm going to be up at the cottage for the whole week. I'm going on Friday, and I'm staying until the Sunday after the 4th, or maybe even Monday. I'm not sure. I will be live on July 11th, and at that time, I'm going to have a guest stamper. Yes, Kathy Miller is going to join me. There we go. That's better. Kathy Miller is going to be joining me as a guest stamper, and she's going to be making one of her creations. I'm going to do one of my cards, and then we're going to be planning some of our classes together this year, and so we are spending that day kind of getting our card buffet for the month of August together, and we are going to put together a card or some sort of a 3D item or something that we're going to do together. We haven't figured that one out yet. We'll be figuring it out the day of. But that will be July 11th. For those of you that know Kathy, I know many of you joined me. You found me through Kathy, and she does not like technology. And so she's like, yeah, I'll come and do it if you can do all the technology. And so she's going to go ahead and join me because she loves doing the lives and she loves sharing her hobby with everybody. She just doesn't like all the technology, and I don't mind all that stuff. My phone gets disconnected all the time. I'm like, but I figure it out. So that is it for today. I will get these up on my blog. I'm probably not going to get them up tonight because I don't want to stay up too late and I don't have everything typed up yet. But I'm hoping that by the end of the night tomorrow, I will have all of this up there for you. So if you have some time to do some stamping, you can. But I wanted to wish you all a happy 4th of July. I hope you can find some time to be with family, relax. If stamping is how you relax and you find some time to do that, all the better. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And like I said, I will be back again on July 11th with my guest stamper, Kathy Miller. So, everybody have a great week. Have a great 4th, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.